What's up, everybody? It's your boy Caesar. So today we've got another Masterpiece Transformer review. We're going to be taking a look at the MPG-14 Godbomber. This is the other half of God Ginrai. So we're going to be taking a look at this today. Let's not waste any more time. Let's go. So let's see what we've got inside here. So it looks like we have the manual with a tech spec card. Say that 3 times fast. So we've got that. We'll be taking a look at that momentarily. And then for this, there's not much here. So you've got Godbomber here. He's a relatively nice size here. So you've got that. You've got 2 effect parts for him there. You've got the missile part that goes on his shoulder there. Looks like you've got some holder pieces for a stand here. And then let's take a look up here. So then you have the Headmaster Juniors here. So if I remember correctly, they are Siren, Minerva, and I want to say Shunta. I want to say that those are their names. I'm going off of memory here. I haven't seen Masterforce in probably about 10 years or so. But you've got that, and then you've got a sword. Now he's like, when did he have a sword? I don't remember if he had a sword in Masterforce, but I know for a fact God Ginrai had one in Victory. So that's probably what this is for. But I think overall it looks really, really good so far. So what we'll do is we'll take this stuff out of the box, but first we're gonna take a look at the manual next. So let's take a look at this manual. Now first, we have the tech spec card for Godbomber. Say that 3 times fast. But you got those, so those are always nice to have. Let's take a look at this manual here. The thing about Godbomber. All right. It looks like you have the parts count here. Now, I think I messed up on their names. When I get to the accessory section, I'll talk about them. But the Headmaster Juniors, I think I messed up their names. But I'm going off of memory here. Like I said, I haven't seen Masterforce in almost 10 years. But anyway, so I'm not seeing anything. This is all in Japanese, so no English here. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Now, the thing about, I don't ever remember there being the Godbomber part of Ginrai or Power Master Optimus Prime in America in the 80s. Because in the 80s, that was the only Optimus Prime figure I had, which was the Power Master Optimus Prime, but he did not come with the Apex armor. Apparently there might have been like a gift set or something, if I'm not mistaken, where people got it. But in the Japanese lore, he's an actual another character. So, you know, you do have that, but I love Masterforce. Masterforce is one of my favorite Transformers series. This really is where the Japanese start to truly like carve their own path as far as Transformers. And Headmasters was kind of a mixed bag to me, but Masterforce, they had some really interesting concepts in that show. So they had humans becoming Transformers, which I think especially for a 6 or 7 or 8-year-old kid, that would have been amazing if it had hit. But it is different from the American Transformers, but I enjoy it. I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite because I really love Victory as well, but I would say that they're right neck and neck, Victory and Masterforce. So, and then Zone's okay, but Zone is just an OVA. So, but yeah, I'm not seeing anything crazy here. Now, the thing about Godbomber is he's a parts former in every sense of the word. He really is. He splits apart. That's how he forms God Ginrai with Super Ginrai, and so it's going to be interesting to see, and you're going to start to see as we go through this, especially if you know anything about the connection between Transformers and the Brave series. This is where things are really going to start to show very much a lot of similarities, because I think a lot of the mecha designers that worked on Masterforce and Victory specifically went over to Brave after Transformers G1 was done in Japan. So that should be interesting. There is a lot of history on that if you guys want to check it out. It's actually quite interesting. I am always a fan of lore. But anyway, so that's what we got for the manual. So now what we'll do is we'll take a look at Godbomber himself. All right, so let's take a look at this Godbomber here. So of course, the first thing that I notice is all of this chrome here. So that's why I got both gloves on now. But it does look good. It's chrome plated. I think it does look really, really good. That makes it stand out quite a bit. And then you've got the wings here for God Ginrai on the back. Now, the thing about him in vehicle mode versus robot mode, the majority of the time in Masterforce, he was in this mode. He was not, he was not in robot mode, at least not based on my memory. So it has been a while since I've seen it, but of course this is like the body part I can already tell for Godbomber here with his feet here and here. But I do like the detail here. Now this is interesting, messing with this after I just did the Star Convoy review, because the feel is totally different from that. And even though, I don't know, like the detail is just, it's sharper as far as the detail here with the panel lining and all that. It just looks sharper than that Star Convoy. Now, if we ever got a Star Convoy in the Masterpiece line, now we're talking. But it does look really, really good. It does roll. So, you know, if that's something that you like to do, but the wheels do move there, I would say probably just think about this part here, because you don't want that to hit the bottom, because that's barely up on my base here. So he does look good, I must admit, but I think the chrome makes it stand out more than anything else. So I definitely do like that. So that'll definitely be a fingerprint magnet. So make sure you have a microfiber cleaning cloth to clean that up. And then also with the translucent windows, so you can put the Headmaster Juniors in there. So I think that will be really cool. So I like what I've seen thus far. Of course, we'll take them through robot mode here in a little bit. But first, what we're gonna do is we're going to take a look at his accessories. He doesn't have that many, so we'll take a look at those real quick. So let's take a look at God Bomber's accessories. So first up, we have the God Cannon. So this looks really, really good. And yeah, the feel of this Masterpiece, as far as just the plastic, especially comparing this to the Star Convoy, I don't know, it just feels better. It just feels more premium, I guess. Now, the thing about this chrome plating is this is not like chrome metal. This is just, it's plastic with a chrome coat on it. So, but it does look nice though. So you do have this. It does look really nice. So that's what you have for the God Cannon. Next up, we have the God Blade. So you've got this blade here. It is plastic, it's not metal, but I do like the chrome plating on there. So it does look really nice. Now, I don't remember God Bomber or God Ginrai having a sword in Masterforce, but I could be wrong about that. It has been a while since I've seen it. But I know for a fact that he had it in Victory when he was fighting Lyle Kaiser. I'm like 90% positive that was the case. But this is what you have for the God Blade. And then you get these two effect parts. So these effect parts will go on the back of God Bomber's engine. It will simulate him blasting off to start the transformation into God Ginrai. So you can use it for that. You can probably also use these as like blaster effects as well for Super Ginrai if you wanted to, I guess. So, but you get two of those. So that's what you have for his effects. And then lastly, we get the Headmaster Juniors. So first off, you have, this is Cab, at least that's his name in the show. And he had the red fire engine. So almost like a vehicle, like think of like Fire Convoy from Car Robots. So you have that one. Then you have Shunta. I think that's how you pronounce his name. So you have this guy. He, I think his American name was Siren, if I'm not mistaken. So he's kind of like the leader of the Headmaster Juniors. So you have him. And then lastly, you have Minerva. So of course, she was one of the few female Autobots in Transformers G1, at least for the show. I don't know about the comics or anything, but you know, so you do have her. So she had like a medical like vehicle. So it's kind of like a medical sports car or something like that. But you have Minerva. So that's what we have for accessories. As I said before, not too much. So now what we're going to do is we're going to try to get God Bomber transformed. So we'll do that next. Now, before we transform God Bomber into his robot mode, there's a couple of other things I did want to go over just before we do that. So what we're going to do first is we're going to put the Headmaster Juniors in here. So you can have them in here kind of like this. And it looks like it's just the bottom piece there that kind of goes into the very bottom there. So you've got this. So I think this is a cool gimmick. Now, where this comes from is this comes from the second, I think it's the second opening for Super God Masterforce. So where you can see them inside God Bomber. So you do have them there. And then let's go ahead and put his gun on him while we have it. So you just throw this back here like this. Let's go ahead and put that in there like that. There, and let me raise this up a little bit so you can see there. So you've got that. And then we can also put those effects that we saw in the accessory section. So you can kind of have those set up that way. So we'll put this one on here as well. So I just wanted you guys to see what that looked like, because probably once I have him transform, I'm probably never gonna have him in vehicle mode again. But so that's what you have with all of his stuff on him. The only thing he's really missing is the sword, but I mean, you're not really gonna need it for this mode. So you do have this. And then next, what I wanted to take you guys through is that he can be connected to Ginrai the cab, and you can connect him to the trailer. So we're just gonna do that real quick. So what we're gonna do is, in order to get him ready, he's got this little clip here at the bottom here, and really all you're gonna do is flip this up here, like this. All right, so you're just gonna flip that up like that. All right, and then we'll bring in Ginrai here. So we've got this part here, and what you have is you have this adapter here. And so what this does is this goes pretty much right in here on Ginrai's feet where his trailer would connect. And so you have that to where this part is actually is sticking out, and really you just kind of put it in there. Hold on, there we go. All right, just like that. And so he will be able to do that. Now, what I will say about this part is that this part, it's not in there very securely. It's a pretty loose fit, so you can pretty much take it in and out as you see fit. So it's just like a little hook that you can place in there. I was thinking that that would be more secure than that, but it's not. So you do have that part with just the Ginrai cab. And then lastly, we're gonna connect Godbomber to the Ginrai trailer. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring out the trailer real quick. So let me push him back a little ways. And then we're gonna bring back the trailer for Ginrai. Now, on Ginrai, he's got this little piece here. And so what you're gonna do really is you're just gonna flip that down like that. And then Godbomber will connect just like how he connected to Ginrai before. So he's kind of got it like that. And then let's go ahead and bring out the cab here and then place that there, boom. So that's what you have. Now, of course, it's gonna be a little bit difficult to get it in the entire shot, but it does look pretty good. It's pretty long too. Godbomber is a pretty nice size there. So he is definitely, now what the thing about the connection piece is that really, they're not that secure. And I'm okay with that, I guess, you know, because really it just needs to pull it, even though you're not really gonna have it on there all that much, but you can do that. So it will pull back and forth. So of course, trying to get him on this little platform thing I have can be difficult, but he will roll there. So that's what you have for that. So now what we will do is we will start to transform Godbomber. So let's take a look at this Godbomber real quick. Now, just at first glance, I would say that he's slightly shorter than Super Ginrai, at least based on what I remember. Super Ginrai has been boxed away for a couple of months since it came out, but I think overall, he does look relatively good here. He's got a lot of detail there. Of course, we'll go through his articulation here in a little bit, but I think that overall, he looks pretty good. You still have the Headmaster Juniors in there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but you still have them in here. I would say that the transformation isn't super difficult. I mean, like I said before, he's pretty much a parts former. So in essence, he literally just splits apart. He splits apart. I would say that I don't like the fact that his sword doesn't really fit in his hands all that well. And from what I understand, these are the God Ginrai hands. So I don't know about that, but I think overall it's gonna be fine. I would just say watch out for the chrome, because the chrome will be a fingerprint magnet. So anytime you put your fingers on there, and actually I still got gloves on, so. But I think overall, I think he looks really good as far as his detail. I'm not sure how he'll be as far as his articulation, just because he is a parts former. And so that's gonna limit his articulation, I would think, quite a bit. But I think overall, I think that they did a really good job here. And it's interesting looking at this versus me just doing the Star Convoy review, because just the quality in plastic just seems to be so much better with this than with Star Convoy. So it's interesting just looking at it, but I think overall they did a really good job here for the detail. He's got tons of panel lining and things of this nature. The Autobot symbol looks great. So there's not really much to complain about here. So what we'll do next is we'll take a look at his articulation real quick. So let's take a look at Godbomber's articulation. For his head, he can look up, way up. So that's really good there. He can look down, but it's not really his head. It's the plate where his head is resting on. You can lift that up. That has to do with his transformation, really. No side to side, okay? But he can spin it 360 with no problem. So that's what you have for the head. Not too bad there. For his arm, you can raise that up. Now there's a panel that comes out where his arm is attached. That's not his actual arm itself. So that's an interesting compromise, but you can raise it about shoulder length. So not too bad there. Can he spin it 360? I'm gonna say yes. However, his wings are gonna get in the way, so you're gonna have to kind of move that out of the way, but he can get 360. For the bicep, can he spin it? He can. Now, because of how bulky this is, you're not gonna be able to get all the way 360, but it does look like without it, he probably would, because this does spin, but I would say with it on, you're probably only gonna get about 180 degrees on that. For his elbow, he can bend it, but that's only about, what was that, 90 degrees? So he's just gonna get it about 90 degrees. Now, a lot of that has to do with the bulkiness of this part right here. So I think without it, he would actually be okay, but because this whole piece here is bulky, you're not really gonna be able to do anything with that outside of that. Now, for his forearm, you can spin that, and you can spin that probably about 180, but like I said, just due to its size, you're not gonna be able to get 360, but I think without it, you could. Now, as far as I know, I don't know if this probably does detach, but we wouldn't have it on because this is how he would look in his regular robot mode. For his wrist, no upwards or downward movement, side to side, almost non-existent. I think it just has to do with the bulkiness there, but you're not gonna be able to do really anything with his wrist. For his hands, he does have semi-articulated fingers, so the thumb will go in and out. All right, but there's no double joint there, it doesn't look like. And then for his hands, he's got the 3-1 split. All right, so he does have that, but you do have a hinge there, and you do have it for the 3 fingers as well. So you have a mid split, but nothing right here at the actual fingertips. So overall, not too bad for the hands. For his midsection, you're not really gonna get any articulation outside of his upper thigh there. So there's nothing as far as an ab crunch or anything, no side to side, nothing like that. It's pretty much bulky. I expected that with it being splitting apart at the midsection, so there's really nothing there that you can do. Can he spin it? Looks like you can spin it about 45 degrees. I wouldn't chance anything else. So it looks like that's pretty much it. It's almost at 45 degrees. So disappointing on the midsection, but considering what he is and how he transforms, I'm not surprised. For the waist section, he does have 2 front skirts that are independent of each other. So they do move. The side skirts are really just the wheels for his cab, but that is a whole connected piece with the back. So they don't move up or down or anything like that. They slide out and in. So that's what you have for the 2 side skirts there. So there's no real movement there. All right. And then for the back skirts, he doesn't really have much either. They will move independently of each other though, but that's pretty much the front part of his truck mode. So that's what you have for the waist section. For his legs, he does have like an upper part here. So you can do that. So you can kind of simulate him like leaning down like that, but that's about it. Now, I would be careful doing that in posing because what'll happen is this front part will come off. So just be careful with that. So unfortunately, there's not much as far as articulation there, but he does have a good ratchet there. You can spin the thigh. Looks like you can spin it 360 there. So let's take his thing up there. So he's got about 90 degrees. I probably wouldn't chance more than that, okay? He does have a decent knee bend. So we've seen better in other figures, but it's not the worst that we've seen either. So he's got that there. For his feet, this will go up, all right, but no downward movement. He does have a side to side here by moving this whole piece here. So it will go in as far as the ankle is concerned, but it will not go the other way. So you only get it inward, not outward, okay? And it does not go down either. So that's all you have for the feet. So that's what we have for articulation. He's quite limited, but considering he is a true parts former in every sense of the word, that's not unexpected for me. But the fact that his robot mode does look good, I will give them credit on that, because in order to have him fully articulated, you can't have pieces coming off and coming on like they do on this figure. So I can give it a little bit of grace with that, but I would have you know, me being an articulation snob as I am, of course, I would have wanted more articulation with this guy. But considering that more than likely when you're buying this guy, you're going to want to have God Ginrai. He's just gonna split apart and be kind of the parts, the arms and the legs for him. So that's what his true purpose was in the show, and that's what his true purpose is here. But I think overall it's okay, but his articulation is lacking. So that's what we have for articulation. So now what we'll do, we're actually gonna do some size comparisons. I'll bring out Super Ginrai and a couple of other figures, and we'll see how he stacks up from a height standpoint. So now we're going to do some size comparisons with this Godbomber so you can kind of see the difference in height. Now, he's measured at about 11.8 inches, so he's roughly at almost a foot. So that's not a small figure. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna bring out one that I don't bring out a lot. And I'm going to bring out Chogokin VF1. So as you can see, the VF1 is slightly taller. If I can get him to stand, hold on. Bring out the V1. So the V1 is slightly taller. Of course, his legs are spread out a little bit wider than him just because this is a slippery base, but he's slightly taller, but not by much. They're relatively close to the same height there. So that's what you have for the Chogokin VF1. And then next, of course, we'll bring out the Good Smile Firebird. So Firebird's actually slightly shorter than Godbomber. So that's actually pretty good. And you can kind of see, this is where the designers for the Transformers series and the Brave series, this is where they kind of combine, because pretty much after Masterforce and Victory, those same designers went on to the Brave franchise. And so a lot of the stuff that was in the Japanese Transformers is in the Brave series. And as we keep going forward, you'll see more of that. So that's what you have Godbomber next to Firebird. And then we're gonna bring out Super Ginrai. So Super Ginrai is taller than him. Let's actually raise this up a little bit so you can see that. So he is taller than him, but not by much. So if he's about 12 inches, he's probably close to, let's say 12 and a half-ish inches with the head and everything like that. So, and of course they will combine into God Ginrai. We'll actually do that in the next video. And I didn't have the Ginrai out. I'm just noticing that. But this is just for height comparisons only. So that's what you have for Super Ginrai. And then, of course, this is a little bit of an unfair battle here, but we're gonna put him next to the Star Convoy. So that's crazy. So let's go ahead and raise this up so you can see how big Star Convoy is next to Godbomber. So as you can see, Godbomber really only goes to about his waist. So with this guy being 15 inches, it definitely shows how big Star Convoy is compared to Godbomber. So that's pretty funny there. But yeah, so that's what you have for Star Convoy. So that's what you have for size comparisons. I just wanted to give you a brief look at some of the other figures that I have in the collection and compare them. So he's not small by any means. 11.8 inches, that's actually quite big. So he's just not as big as Star Convoy or some of the like jumbo figures that you see in the Transformers line and some of the other Brave lines as well. So now we'll get into final thoughts. So last thoughts on this guy. Now, you know, this is an interesting piece. Now, I do need to make a correction that I said something earlier in the video that was not accurate. The side skirts do move. It's just that they're tabbed into the back. So as you see here, they are out. They're just tabbed in here. So in order to move them out, all you need to do is push up the back skirt and then push them out, and then they will come out. So that's the one correction I needed to make. So as far as my thoughts on this guy, considering he is a parts former, I'm a little bit more gracious on the score. I think that he is well done for what he is, considering that Godbomber, generally speaking, is a power up for Super Ginrai. That's what he was in the show. That's what he was in the toys. He's a drone. He's not really sentient per se like other Transformers. It's just, you know, that's just what he is. And so the problems that he lacks articulation, even though his articulation isn't bad by any means, but having no ab articulation does hurt him. I think his articulation every place else for the most part is pretty good. I wouldn't say that it's bad at all. And the thing about this one, especially, it's interesting to me because just coming off of the Star Convoy review and just the differences in feel as far as the plastic is concerned, the look of the detailing as far as the panel lining and stuff, the feel of the plastic, it just feels more premium than the Star Convoy. And even though the Star Convoy may have a little bit more articulation than this guy, I still would give him the edge slightly. I like the chrome detailing a lot. That goes towards the 90s figure of this. And like I said before in another part in the review, that there is a box set of this God Bomber. He comes with the, it's the MPG-14 and that is pretty much just like the collector set for God Bomber. So you can put the Super Ginrai box in it as well. That was the gift set that he came in the late 80s, early 90s in Japan. And I don't know if they came with it here in America, as I didn't have the Apex armor, because of course they call God Bomber the Apex armor in America. But I think that overall, I think that he's solid. I think his detail is great. The plastic quality is great. The chroming is very well done. I would say just watch out for that as far as scratching the paint and stuff on there, because it's not actual metal. It's more just chrome plating. And so I would just make sure that you have a microfiber cleaning cloth handy, and it could kind of wear off over time, especially if you mess with it a lot as far as the chrome plating is done. But I think the difference between him and Star Convoy is really the detail that goes into the Masterpiece figures. That's why, generally speaking, when it comes to Transformers, I only collect Masterpiece, because I think that the detailing that they have for it, if you could have got chrome plating on Star Convoy, I think that would have been amazing. But to me, it just seems sharper, this God Bomber. He just seems sharper as far as detailing, just the attention to detail that he has. His articulation is probably the worst part of him, but considering he's a parts former and that he is pretty much made to form God Ginrai, I can forgive that to an extent. So I'd say overall, out of 10, I would give this guy probably like an 8.2. I think that his detailing alone is what sets him apart mainly from Star Convoy, even though Star Convoy is bigger. And so for those who like big size, but this guy is no slouch as far as size either. He's almost a foot tall. So you're talking about something that I'm nitpicking here, but I think that overall, I think that it's very, very well done here. So of course, we all know what's coming next. That will be God Ginrai. I don't expect that video to take very long, as we're really just going through the transformation. And since the base form is Super Ginrai, it's pretty much going to be the same. I would say it may be maybe like a 10-minute to 15-minute video, but of course we'll be doing that here shortly. So that's what I got for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching the video. If you could like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, send this one out to all of the Transformer fans. As you guys know, I do not do a ton of Transformer reviews on the channel, but Super Ginrai, God Ginrai, that whole Japanese Transformer stuff, I have a special spot in my heart for it. So I felt the need to review it, especially considering that Power Master Optimus Prime was the only Optimus toy that I ever had in the 80s as a kid. This one has kind of like a special place for me. So, but anyways, thank you guys for watching the video, and we'll see you for part 2, which is going to be the transformation into God Ginrai. So we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.